Hey everyone, it's Yoshimi here, and welcome to the Dark Lost Media Iceberg. This iceberg was created by Reddit user Fergie the One and Only, and covers some of the darkest topics that are not publicly available, but are believed to exist. This is a re-upload, as I forgot to credit the creator in my original, and I made a couple editing errors in the process. With that being said, I hope you enjoy this video, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because you don't want to miss what's next. That being said, let's get into Tier 1. All-American Massacre is an unreleased horror film featuring Chop Top from the Texas Chainsaw series of films. Despite being cancelled and subsequently lost, the film was actually completely filmed and had a scheduled release date. The film itself began as a 15-minute short but eventually turned into a 60-minute feature. It is unknown why the film was never released. Copyright issues may be the cause because of the film featuring Texas Chainsaw characters, notably Leatherface. No screenshots or footage of this film has ever surfaced save for the teaser trailer. A bootleg copy of the film has been rumored to exist, however, to this day, its existence remains unknown. Freaks is an American horror film released in 1932 and details the lives of several sideshow freaks at a traveling circus. The film itself utilizes real sideshow performers and centers around the story of a female trapeze artist named Cleopatra, who seduces and marries one of the sideshow performers, a little person named Hans, after finding out he has inherited a large fortune. She forms a plot to kill Hans by poisoning him in order to take the fortune for herself and her real lover Hercules the Strongman. However, after hearing about this plot, the rest of the carnies exact revenge on the two, mutilating them both. The original cut featured a much more brutal ending, featuring Hercules singing in falsetto after being castrated, while Cleopatra, now tarred and feathered with her hands and feet deformed, is dubbed as the Chicken Woman. This film was extremely controversial and banned in several countries, leading to the career of director Todd Browning to be effectively ended and the original cut of the film lost, possibly never to be recovered due to the length of time it has been since the film's release. Event Horizon is a space horror film directed by acclaimed video game movie ruiner Paul W.S. Anderson. Despite Anderson's later films, Event Horizon is one of my favorite horror movies. The film details the story of a recovery crew boarding an interdimensional spacecraft known as the Event Horizon after it has returned from an unknown dimensional trip after quite some time of silence. The film is known for not being a typical space movie, replacing aliens with demonic forces as the main antagonists of this film. This film has some pretty gory and disturbing imagery throughout, featuring many members of the cast being killed or tortured in completely savage ways, as the forces of hell tear through the ship. However, despite this brutality, it was supposed to be so much more. You see, while Paramount had looked at the film production early on, Anderson was mostly left to himself during his directing, leading to the film being filled with more gut-wrenching scenes than the theatrical cut. If you've seen the film itself, you may know about the two infamous scenes in the film. One is a video transmission where they find out about the original crew's fate, in which they had tortured and assaulted each other, killing each other in the process. Another scene is where a vision appears showing most of the main cast restrained and mutilated / tortured in the hell dimension. While these and more disturbing imagery made it into the film, a lot was cut out to fit a shorter runtime. Scenes that were supposedly left out included a deleted hell scene, a flashback scene involving one of the main characters' wife's suicide, and more prominent scenes of Sam Neill's character post-demonic possession that occur near the end of the film. The reason these scenes are lost is actually quite funny. You see, Event Horizon was a bomb at the box office, but gained a cult following with DVD sales later on. Paul W.S. Anderson was approached to make the director's cut of the film as he originally intended. However, upon searching, he couldn't find the deleted scenes anywhere, and this is where the weirdest part happens. Somehow, the reels of the deleted scenes were found in a salt mine in Transylvania and were too damaged to be restored, leading to the original vision for what could have been the most brutal sci-fi horror film of all time to be lost forever. Cuckoo Clocks from Hell is a lost early 3-hour cut of the 1977 horror movie Last House on Dead End Street. The release version of the film is known for its extreme gore and chilling atmosphere, with many rumors surrounding the possibility that the murders that took place in the film were actually real on-screen deaths due to the fact that pseudonyms were placed instead of the actors' real names in the credits. Despite its official release, it is said that the early version of the film was shown to test audiences in 1973. It is rumored that this early screening was so so disturbing in nature that theatergoers caused a riot due to the amount of violence present in the film. Despite Last House on Dead End Street receiving limited home releases over time, the 3-hour cut has never been seen since 1973. Due to the controversy surrounding the cut, it is possible it was destroyed so as not to cause further trouble. The New York Film Archive is said to have a copy of the film, however, it has never been confirmed. The Black Friday cut, or the Black Friday Reel, is an infamous storyboard of the Disney Pixar film Toy Story that nearly got the film cancelled when it was shown in 1993. It was notably more cynical and darker in nature. However, due to the lack of information regarding production, it is unknown how far it went into creation. The only known footage of this cut is a 2-minute storyboard in which Woody tries to deliberately push Buzz Lightyear behind a desk so Andy will take him to Pizza Planet instead of Buzz. This is a stark character change compared to Woody's final version, as in the final film he only accidentally pushes Buzz out of a window instead of intending to harm Buzz. Despite being talked about in a couple of mini documentaries regarding Pixar, it is unknown if a full storyboard exists of the original cut. However, it is unlikely that anything else aside from this storyboard still exists. Cannibal Holocaust needs no introduction when it comes to extremely disturbing horror movies. However, for those who don't know, Cannibal Holocaust is a controversial 1980 Italian film directed by Ruggero Deodato. The film tells the story of a missing documentary crew that was filming cannibal tribes in the Amazon. New York University anthropologist Harold Monroe is sent on an expedition to track down the missing crew. Hilarity ensues, and the footage of the film's crew is found that includes acts of extreme violence from both the cannibal tribe and the missing film crew. Animals are a rather infamous aspect of the film itself, with many of the scenes involving the very real death of several animals in the film. With this, there is one extremely disturbing lost scene in which an injured warrior of the tribe is tied to a wood log by other members in order to undergo leg amputation via piranhas. However, due to the nature of filming, it was extremely difficult to film. The piranhas would not react the way the crew intended, and the underwater camera they had kept malfunctioning. Only a couple of screenshots exist of this supposed scene, though it has been rumored to have appeared in some obscure foreign releases of the film, but this was later proven to be false. Manhunt 2 is a stealth psychological horror game created by Rockstar Games and is the sequel to the extremely violent and highly controversial Manhunt. Because of this, several items, levels, and executions were cut in order for the game to receive an M rating instead of an adults only rating. While there isn't much to talk about in terms of anything grotesque, I recommend you check out the Cutting Room Floor article on Manhunt 2 if you haven't already. Aaron Ralston is an American outdoorsman, mechanical engineer, and motivational speaker who is the subject of the 2010 film 127 Hours. The film depicts the very real story of Ralston's exploration of a remote canyon in Utah in 2003. During this exploration, Ralston was alone, and after an accident, he became trapped in a crevice when a boulder fell on his arm. After some time trapped and nearing death, Ralston plotted his escape by performing an amateur amputation on his arm with a pocket knife he had on him. A video diary was filmed by him to let people know what had happened in the event that he passed away during this accident. However, after successfully breaking his own arm and completing the amputation, he was able to escape and eventually found a family vacationing who fed him and alerted authorities. The whole ordeal of his entrapment was filmed, including the amputation. Ralston still has the home videos of himself and has shown them to friends and family. Though, when asked if he would ever release them, he stated that he understands the interest and intrigue in the subject. However, they are something deeply personal to him and are only reserved for family and friends. Sadistic Bitch is a lost 2002 horror film directed by Brad Jones, who you all may know as the Cinema Snob. The film itself is about a psychotic girlfriend who finds out her boyfriend cheated on her. After finding this out, she decides to kidnap him and perform amateur surgery on the boyfriend in order to turn him into a girl. The film was apparently stolen out of Brad's house along with his entire DVD collection during a robbery shortly after, leading to the film's loss. Brad was quite saddened by this loss, even putting forth efforts in order to find the film. It is rumored that Brad might be in possession of small pieces of raw footage on some high-8 tapes that he has. However, as of 2019, he has no means of viewing what are on the tapes. The Austin serial bombings was a series of explosive attacks that spanned from March 2nd to March 28th, 2018, committed by Mark Anthony Condit that injured 6 people and took the lives of 2, as well as taking his own life. In the aftermath of his death, it was reported that the police had found a 25-minute video on Condit's phone detailing and confessing to the bombs and how he built the said explosives used. Since the attacks, none of this footage has ever been released. On April 16, 2007, Swang Hee Cho entered his college campus and killed 32 people, leading to one of the deadliest school shootings in American history, known as the Virginia Tech Massacre. In between the first 2 shootings, Cho sent a media package to NBC containing several photos, pages of writings, and videos. Some of the footage was aired in the wake of the massacre, but the full content of the package was never released. It is still believed to be in possession of NBC to this day, and it's unlikely it will ever see the light of day due to the severity of the crime itself. Tiger King destroyed footage refers to the lost footage that show producer Rick Kirkham had shot during his time filming a reality show about Joe Exotic. It was stated that the footage was destroyed in a mysterious fire that burned down the studio Kirkham was working in on Joe Exotic's site. Kirkham mentions in an interview with Extra TV that the footage contains scenes of Joe Exotic tricking people into handing over their exotic animals, as well as footage of Exotic killing many of these animals. It is unknown if any of the footage still exists, and it is unlikely we will ever even begin to understand the full scope of how insane Joe Exotic really is. The Handy Manny incident simply refers to an incident in 2007 in which instead of the popular Disney Channel cartoon Handy Manny being aired, it was instead a hardcore not safe for work video. There is no actual footage of this event taking place save for a few news reports on it. Wrestling has had its fair share of controversial and horrific lost media over the years. Droz vs. D'Lo Brown was a 1999 WWF match between wrestler D'Lo Brown and former football player turned wrestler Droz. During the match, D'Lo goes to execute a powerbomb on Droz. However, circumstance leads to the powerbomb being incorrectly executed, causing Droz to sustain a life-threatening neck injury that paralyzed him from the neck down. While the entirety of the match was filmed, only stills of the event exist to the public, including this image of the career-ending powerbomb. It is highly unlikely that the footage will ever be released. This one is both dark and just extremely sad, and I won't be going into specifics of it because it's about a content creator I enjoy watching. This entry refers to a lost Final Cam show in which former adult model Sue Lightning discusses the dark side of her time as a sex worker, including her being assaulted by another adult model during a video shoot. The mental breakdown became known around circles she was popular in, but no known footage exists aside from a few screenshots, and she has since moved on from her life in that industry. However, she is now a YouTuber who does reviews and video essays on Capcom and survival horror games under the name Sphere Hunter, so please go check her out and support what she does. She is an excellent content creator and should be known for more than a past that she doesn't want to talk about. The Babushka Lady recording refers to a mysterious woman who was present at the time of the JFK assassination and is believed to have either photos of the fatal shot that killed JFK or an entire recording of the event. She has been so highly sought after by investigators and conspiracy theorists alike because of where she was standing at the time of the assassination that would allow for a lot more to be known about where the shot came from. However, this is both a lost media and a lost person case, as even after several years of searching, the Babushka Lady herself has yet to be identified or found. The Don Branchow tape refers to a highly publicized and well-known incident involving SeaWorld trainer Don Branchow being attacked and killed by the orca whale Tilikum in 2010 during a SeaWorld performance, with this being the 3rd death that the orca was responsible for. Branchow was known as a perfectionist and would videotape her performances in order to find out what she could improve on. This performance was recorded in its entirety, but it has only been partially seen due to it being a huge talking point in the 2013 documentary Blackfish. It is unlikely that this will ever be shown in its entirety due to the tragedy of the case, as well as respect for Branchow, her family, and friends. This entry refers to during the assassination of Osama bin Laden, Navy SEAL Team 6 had taken photos in order to prove that the terrorist leader was dead. However, these photos have never surfaced to the public despite us having public access to footage and photos of other infamous dictators' deaths. This could be because if reports are to be believed, bin Laden was shot to an excessive amount of times, while which many of us would not care in any capacity given to who it was done to. The best explanation is that they did not want to reveal that one of the top military personnel was prone to use excessive force for self-indulgent means. However, this entry could also refer to the fact that bin Laden's body is also lost, having been dumped in the ocean shortly after his assassination. The Skyway Man refers to a 1920 documentary film about stunt flights. The film was notable for having impressive stunts take place and be filmed for the first time, as well as having one of those stunts go horribly wrong. On August 2nd, 1920, a stunt was filmed using floodlights to help guide the pilots and enable them to be seen by the camera. The two pilots, Ormer Locklear and Milton Elliott, were operating a biplane and instructed the crew to shut off the floodlights in order to properly land the plane. They had flares attached to the wings which would give the plane the illusion that it was on fire. The plane was to simulate a crash on the ground. The crew neglected the directions to turn off the floodlights. Blinded by the glare of the lights, the pilots had no idea the ground was closer to them than they thought, and the plane crashed, killing both instantly. Locklear's girlfriend, Viola Dana, was on set and witnessed the crash. The scene, along with its aftermath, complete with Dana's horrified reaction, was left in the film, making it one of the first films to feature the on-screen deaths of its members. Despite this, the film was actually shown to audiences who were admittedly shocked. Today, the film is entirely lost save for this now morbidly ironic production still of Ormer Locklear standing atop a crashed biplane. Dreamworld is or was a theme park in Australia. An accident during a boat ride attraction at the park claimed the lives of 4 people. It is believed to have been recorded, but no real evidence has shown that this to be true. The Twist X tornado refers to an event in May 2013 in which a tornado had touched down in Oklahoma and became the widest tornado ever recorded. During this event, a team of storm chasers working for the Discovery Channel named Twist X were caught in the tornado when it suddenly changed course. All 3 storm chasers in the vehicle were tragically killed, leading to the first time a storm chaser has ever died on the job. A video camera inside the vehicle and the rear-facing dash cam of a nearby driver recorded most of the event. The camera was recovered, but the footage it contained has never seen the light of day. Karina Saunders' murder refers to a gruesome murder case that had taken place in Oklahoma in 2011, in which the body of a 19-year-old girl was found violently dismembered and spread across 2 duffel bags found behind a grocery store. It is believed that Karina was forced to participate in a snuff film due to the fact a tripod was set up in an abandoned building they believe the murder took place in. During the police investigation, multiple people claimed to have seen the video. However, the police never found any existing footage that might have led to Karina's murder being solved. The OSBI has since offered a $10,000 reward for anyone who might know where the film could be. Enough Rope refers to a murder video connected to the case of a man named Geoffrey Jones. It was mentioned in the episode The Dark Side of Porn series where they talked about snuff films. Geoffrey Jones had what was described as a bizarre and warped sexual interest in seeing girls in black satin dresses facing danger from the hangman's noose. He put an advertisement out in a shop window for a model to appear in a film, and it was thought that Marion Terry, who answered the advertisement, was dead within minutes of having arrived at his home. It was thought that Geoffrey Jones had persuaded Marion Terry to pose on a piano stool wearing the noose and had then kicked it away and left her to die. It is unknown if the footage still exists, but yeah, that's pretty dark. The Toolbox Killer tape entry refers to a tape created by the Toolbox Killers, Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris, detailing the torture of their final victim, Shirley Lynette Ledford. This is used to desensitize FBI agents to violence. The chief investigator of the case later committed suicide and cited the murderers as his main reason. It has never surfaced and remains within the FBI to this day. So this one is kind of interesting. One day, a woman is walking down the street in Anchorage, Alaska when she sees this SD card that is just laying on the ground. She picks it up, curious as to what the card may contain. Except when she looks at the card, it was labeled Homicide at Midtown Marriott. After this harrowing discovery, she turns it over to the police. On the SD card, there are multiple images and videos of a guy assaulting, torturing, and strangling a woman to death in a hotel room. The man in the videos could be heard laughing and yelling at her to just die. Also contained on the card were images of the woman's body being taken out of the hotel and transported to a dumping site south of town off the Seaward Highway. These also included photos of the black Ford Ranger she was transported in and even showed the license plate of the vehicle. With this, police followed up on both the body and the license plate, which led them to the victim, 30-year-old Kathleen Henry. The suspect was believed to be 48-year-old South African immigrant Brian Smith. Police say they recognized Smith's distinct accent in the video because they had looked into him previously previously in relation to another crime. Smith was out of state when police raided his home, but they were able to pick him up at the airport when he arrived back in Alaska. Since being held in custody, a grand jury has indicted Smith on charges of murder, sexual assault, tampering with evidence, misconduct involving a corpse, another murder, and they found that he had subjected Henry to substantial physical torture. While in custody, he confessed to murdering another woman in around 2017 to 2018. Smith claims to have killed 53-year-old Veronica Abuchuk by shooting her in the head and dumping her body near the Old Glen Highway in Anchorage. State troopers had discovered her skull in April, but hadn't been able to catch a break in the case until now. This entry refers to a case where in the summer of 1981, Issei Sagawa, a Japanese student studying abroad in France, invited Renee Hardevelt, a classmate, to his apartment for dinner and to study poetry. What culminated was Sagawa's intention to kill and consume Hardevelt's flesh. The event took place while Hardevelt was reading a Johannes Robert Becher poem about death. Sagawa shot her with a rifle. Using an electric knife, he started taking more than 7 kilos of meat off her body. He consumed her flesh during the next 3 days, cooking several meals and having relations with the corpse before finally getting rid of the body. In addition to recording the whole butchery, Hardevelt's last words and the actual fire shot were caught on tape. Sagawa also shot a total of 39 photographs showing several stagings he had made with the corpse. Oddly enough, all of the images from the crime scene and autopsy pictures were published in a magazine in December 1983, but the alleged tapes were presumed to be in possession of French police. They are unlikely to surface for obvious reasons. Leonard Lake and Charles Ng were a serial killer duo who between 1983 and 1985 kidnapped, tortured, essayed, and murdered between 8 and 25 people, most of them being women, in their bunker in California. They recorded many of these killings and torture sessions, with a few having surfaced to the public. However, some of the more extreme and sadistic have yet to be shown. Five Shotguns Hate Crime refers to a fake name created by the creator of this iceberg because the title is too explicit to mention. The video was allegedly uploaded to Bestscore back in 2012. It allegedly shows a gang of racists tying up a black man and blasting him with a shotgun until there is practically nothing left. The video has no proof of existing and it is likely a hoax. After School Special, also known as Dig Your Roots, is the name of a now known to be fake snuff film, which is named after a black and white poster that can be seen in the room. It is a video that popped up on Bestscore but was quickly taken down. It was a home invasion video where 2 kids were stabbed to death in their sleep. No screenshots have surfaced since it was uploaded, so there is no hard evidence that exists and has now been proven to be a complete load of bullshit. Satan Sphinx is a urban legend / hoax reported to be a roughly 4-minute video banned by the US government showing various images of gore and violence, soundtracked by spooky whispering and a high-pitched whine that reportedly makes the viewers suicidal. However, it is believed to be faked. I had never heard about this one before, but here it goes. 3 orangutans, 1 blender is an unknown, possibly fake shock video with many reactions on YouTube. Little is known about the video since only reaction videos actually exist of it, all of which contain the same soundtrack and audio of said animals as well as the titular blender-like sounds. However, there is no evidence of the video actually existing. A comment on a reaction video describes the video as follows. 3 orangutans, 1 blender is set in a jungle at a camp with trucks, cabins, a giant building, and lots of men working at it, where a large group of the men of apparent Indian / South American descent wear yellow and green camouflage with a strange symbol indicating they are part of some sort of terrorist group or some unknown cult. They walk into a building and take out a number of abused, caged orangutans from a giant shelf. The men also had tattoos and were shirtless as well. It has caused people who watch the video to have seizures, permanent nightmares, or commit suicide. Once they take the animals out of the building, they proceed to hurt them with knives and machetes and cover them in substances such as bleach and possibly lemon juice to aggravate their pain as they screech from it. After this, the titular blender-like machine appears, described as something very similar to a giant version of an animal waste shredder, but it is rather tall, black colored, and looks more menacing, and had a balcony with a metal bridge connected to the other side of it, with human remains being seen inside of it. 6 orangutans are thrown into the shredder, with further bleach and lemon juice poured on onto them as their agony progresses as they die. At one point, the men turn off the machine to commit a number of other highly obscene, disturbing acts, such as defecating on their corpses from the metal bridge above, cutting off their own limbs into the shredder, and throwing their weapons and even human remains and clothes into it as well before they turn it back on. Some orangutans survived, while some are still alive and still screeching in agony, as well as it being a bloodbath of other things as well. Eventually, a ski-masked fat man appears and walking into the giant shredder with a chainsaw to kill whichever orangutans still survive. The final section of the video consists of the men taking the last 3 remaining orangutans and feeding them to 3 tigers which eat their genitals until they throw them into the pen, and then they take one man and feed him to a tiger along with them in the same pen, and then they film his demise as well as the hurt orangutans. After performing the same actions on these 3 orangutans as they did in the previous ones, the men now have no limbs at all, and they take their remains and throw them into the shredder. This is where the video ends. The comment goes on to imply the video is a part of a larger 3-hour film, and that the men and orangutans appearing in the video are counted to be 97 men and a total of 19 orangutans. And the video was actually made using home video camera equipment between the 80s and 90s, but the video wasn't published until sometime in 2006 somewhere. The user then goes on to warn the viewer to never view the footage. So, to lighten the mood, there is another rumor of the video being that of a not shocking gore video and just someone preparing a smoothie for a group of orangutans in a kitchen and then them being overexcited about it respectively. The Grifter is a classic 4chan legend about a video that's supposedly so horrible and depraved it causes any viewers of it to go insane. It has been thoroughly debunked as an urban legend, but it's an interesting story. Frazzle Drip is a conspiracy theory about a snuff film allegedly created by Hillary Clinton, which shows some sort of satanic ritual where Hillary drinks the victim's blood and gets high off it or some bullshit. It's so insane, and it's connected to multiple other theories which have been thoroughly debunked. The PP tape is an alleged video about Trump being peed on by some prostitutes. There was a video about it, and Vladimir Putin threatened Trump with the video that he was going to release it. However, it just probably doesn't exist. Garbage of a Gehenna World is an alleged mixtape film similar to MD Pope and Fubar, with the main theme being occult and satanic imagery. Apparently it has footage of rituals and sacrifices and stuff. There's no proof that exists, and I believe it was proven false recently. Last Breath Studios is apparently a Russian studio that produced snuff films around the 90s. There is no confirmation that it ever existed, and the only places that I could find any info about it are on one Reddit post and VK, which is basically the Russian Facebook. So it could be just an urban legend. Useless.avi is the final video discovered in the popular creepypasta Normal Porn for Normal People. It's footage of a shaved chimp mauling a woman to death. Obviously, this is just a creepypasta, but there are actual rumors that have been spread around that a video like it did exist at one point, which inspired the story. Mark L. Rosen's story refers to a story told by Mark L. Rosen, who is most known as one of the producers of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At the end of a documentary about snuff films, he mentions that while he was working in the film industry, he saw what he described as an actual snuff film. A full description can be found on the Lost Media Wiki. And finally, we have the SpongeBob Brazilian defecation broadcast. This refers to a broadcast of a SpongeBob episode in Brazil that aired right before the Olympics that made a ton of people shit themselves due to a brown note, apparently. It ended up getting no coverage, or just a very little, based on the Olympics covering it up. There isn't any proof of this broadcast existing except for possibly a few reports of it. And there you have it. The Dark Lost Media Iceberg. It was a wild ride. It was probably one of the longest videos I've ever researched and written, and some of the stuff on here is just batshit insane. A lot of it I've heard about before, a lot of it I haven't, especially the 3 orangutans, 1 blender. That it just sounds so insane to be true. However, if you guys did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notifications because you do not want to miss what's next. With that being said, I hope you guys really enjoyed the video, and this has been Yoshimi, and have a good night.